Oh, hello! I didn't see you there. Welcome. This is Bitcoin Talk Show. We are live this Wednesday, September 3rd, 2014. It's so good to be with you. This is an interactive show with the World Crypto Network. We've got some co-hosts here. Hey, guys. Say your names.
Hello. Who's first? Me, I guess. I am Chris Ellis.
I'm Pi Rebel, aka Nick.
Yeah. And
Mad Bitcoins.
you know Mad Bitcoins, and you can take control of this show by dialing in 1-708-23-COINS, or by sending a contact request to the Skype address BitcoinTalkShow. Your contact request will be accepted, and then we'll put you on the air. Talk about anything you want related to the world of Bitcoin. In the news this week, we've got Anx BTC comes out with a pretty cool, like, credit card-looking thing that you can spend your Bitcoins on anything that a credit card can buy. Plus, Bitcoin has become so popular, there are Bitcoin film festivals now, and free Bitcoins for an entire country? We'll get to that headline and more, plus your calls. But first, Thomas, tell us what you were doing this week. You're muted, so if you want to talk about the awesome week you had talking Bitcoin, I want to hear about it when you unmute.
Well, it's the new Google, so the new menus disappear and hide the mute button. So once again, it's going to take them a while, but eventually they'll realize that menus should be on screen. They shouldn't be hidden. That's a little tip, developers. But yes, I was away, but apparently I was also on the Bitcoin group where Chris Ellis ably imitated Mad Bitcoins with a British accent. He said it was a Python-esque 70s accent. We have to over-enunciate. So, enjoyed that.
Awesome.
I was doing an impression of Tom, doing an impression of me. I thought it was suitably meta.
It was the best, and it got even more meta when we got around to the 4th issue. And I didn't even know this article had been published yet. I came home just last night, a couple days ago, and they took my picture, but I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. But it turned out really good. This article from Recode from Nellie Bowles. So it was great to meet her, and she went to the Worthless Currency Exchange at Burning Man's Camp Bitcoin. But as some of you know, Camp Bitcoin wasn't even a camp this year because Charlie Shrem was under house arrest and Eric Voorhees was getting married. So what's the difference? Tough to tell. But either way, neither of them could come to Burning Man. And therefore, Camp Bitcoin became Camp Dogecoin, thanks to Tom and Gary's Decentralized Dance Party, which it was a great idea. They've got these boom boxes and a radio transmitter, and they do the dance party. But this article is mainly about Bitcoin, and it says right here, Thomas Hunt presides at Camp Bitcoin, mainly because he has a top hat. So, very funny, little cute article.
Were you able to exchange any Bitcoin with some of the burners there?
I did send some Bitcoin to people in my camp. It's a little hard to send it while you're out there. There is no internet connection. So it's pretty much a offline type thing. But apparently she found some internet, and she sent this article through. She describes her experiences. She says that she was at the Reddit camp where they were talking about Star Wars trivia, and they said that the Bitcoin guys were a few streets away and that they were a bunch of nerds, real geeks. So it was cool to be described like that. And then she found them, and then he said he was looking for the Bitcoin camp, and he says, oh yeah, they have a trailer in the corner, and you'll see them, just some dudes sitting under a tarp. So that's very true for Burning Man.
So what, they're just trying to play this thing down? It seems pretty cool to me that there's like a lot of techies among the burners. Is that true?
That's what her series of articles seems to be about. I haven't read the other ones yet, but they sent a reporter out there to see if it really was true, if this had become a tech oasis. And I think pretty much she found that to be true. She went from the Reddit group to the Bitcoin Dogecoin group, and there's a lot of tech people out there just taking a week off, being disconnected from the internet, doing whatever they want to do. And then there's a lot of electrical wire and a lot of artwork projects that geeks would be into. So.
Wow, that sounds really cool. So what other Bitcoin things? There was Dogecoin there. Were there any other coins that had a presence at Burning Man?
We talked about some of the anonymous coins, and we talked about coins just generally. Guys had a lot of cool ideas. One person wanted to empty out the skyscrapers and let homeless people live in the places where the bankers used to work. Thought that was a really good idea, and a good what if, because when all these bankers, real estate agents, like middlemen, money changers, accountants, legal access, like lawyers, people that make wills, things like that, when they're all gone, when all their jobs are gone, we're going to have all these empty offices. So we're going to have to think of things to do with these empty offices. So I like that homeless idea. It was totally outside of the box, like solving a problem before we have it. So it was good like that. And then Gary was very cool to meet him. I got to meet Cameron from the Decentralized Dance Party as well. And my friend Josh was there, and he gave some quotes to this article. But the best part is the end of this article, where she's standing outside, and she says, her article is just full of little descriptions, so it's really nice to read. She says, "Before I could re-enter the tent, an extremely attractive couple stopped me and eyed me up and down. 'This is it, right?' asked the man, who was wearing a top hat and genie pants, which for some reason wasn't even a turn-off anymore. I've been here too long. 'It? Tantra tent?' he said, cocking his head. 'No, not Tantra. Bitcoin.'"
Was that you?
No, this is Nelly Bowles. This is just...
Yeah, I know, but was that you, the guy in the top hat and genie pants?
No, that was another guy with a top hat. There's a lot of people with top hats.
Okay, it's a brave new world.
Well, even my Mad Bitcoins hat is kind of 3 years old now. I actually don't wear that hat because it's passé.
Oh,
so.
Well, you've set the trend and now you're moving on. I see.
Yeah, it's good. It's good on the internet, but at Burning Man, it's like you can order things on Amazon as well.
All right. Well, that's very cool. Seems like you had a great experience. I'm curious about the Decentralized Dance Party. Is that decentralized in name only?
No, I mean they have a radio transmitter in a backpack, and they have a whole bunch of boom boxes. So they go to like your local airport or bus station or shopping mall, and they turn them all to the same channel, and they give everyone a boom box, and then they have a party, and then they walk around, and more people join. It's kind of like a flash mob, and I think he's done 60 of them. They're pretty hard.
Have your own radio, you can pretty much like dance around with your own boombox.
And they'll give you one. They have like a preset. They have like hundreds of them. Like I have pictures of him filling a whole trailer full of them.
Man, that is so fun. That sounds really cool.
Yep, he's working on all kinds of ways to spread it. We're trying to get him to do a show on World Crypto Network, and also he's working on a manual, and he's trying to edit all of that footage into a movie. So
brilliant. I love it. Is there some like blog post somewhere about your like Thomas Hunt's week at Burning Man or?
Not yet. I just got back. So
okay. Welcome back. I would love to read a blog post with like your pictures and some of the unique experiences you had for those of us who couldn't make it. And also, it sounds very techy. Sounds like you had a lot of Bitcoin stuff going on, and decentralized projects. Very cool.
It was pretty good. It's a great place to meet people, network, take a week off, all those things.
What about our other guest hosts? You guys both lead interesting lives. Is there big stuff going on in your world for Bitcoin? You getting ready for coins in the kingdom, or what's going on?
Who's first? I mean, what's going on? I've got a few meetings this week. I'm going to be meeting Chris McCready tomorrow about the World Crypto Network website. We had a town hall over the weekend, and I rescheduled it because I wanted to get Ksenia and Anna more involved because they've been in the background, but they haven't been able to make the Thursday evening appointment as easily. So also they're in Europe, so it was good to sort of get their feedback on board. I've also just kind of realized that anyone can just create a town hall. Like, you don't need to ask for permission. This is the Satoshi way, where you're just expected to take responsibility, take it early, and if ever you want a town hall, anyone can organize one, even if you're not part of the World Crypto Network, even if you're an audience member and you want to stage a coup because you don't think we're running things properly. You should absolutely be encouraged to set up a protest town hall and see if you can get some people. Say again?
What's the point of a town hall?
Well, the town hall is rather than like these shows where maybe it gets a bit philosophical and it gets rather, we get drunk on ideas. The idea of the town hall is you actually have actionable events. So then it's like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And it's not about being authoritarian, because obviously we're not authoritarian. We're the opposite of that. It's not about holding everyone literally to every single word they ever say. It's about managing those agreements. And so your suggestion was, let's have it every week and let's get a bit of a pulse going. I thought that was a great idea. And it means that people can kind of come to some of them and then maybe not come to others because they're busy or whatever, but it won't matter because the whole thing's online anyway. So the whole thing is transparent and open from the get-go. And, people have been saying in the comments that we're really paving the way. We're really like trailblazing the transparency movement. We're putting our money where our mouth is, and we're actually living this thing. I mean, it's a slow game, and Tom rightly says, look, okay, we need to make some money. He's absolutely right, but I see that we're getting more subscribers, we're getting more viewers, and not only are we getting more viewers, we're getting more comments and engagement. We're getting more people writing in the bottom. Today's Chris Before Coffee had so many comments and Q&As, I couldn't keep up with them all. But luckily they are all stored permanently, so even after the video is finished, you'll still be able to click on the Q&A and see what people were saying as we were on air.
Wow, that is so cool. All right, so lots of stuff going on. One of the goals that I liked about the World Crypto Network that I think the Town Hall is helping to work toward is the creation of the first ever DAO, or Decentralized Autonomous Organization, where we humans would be able to set up this cool 24-hour news network that's totally decentralized across the world that anyone can participate in, and then step away. Then the humans can step away and let the machines do their...
Well, to some extent, right? Like, the machine can't host the show, but what it can do is it can manage the agreements that we make so that you can't have any one person controlling all of the funds on the network. And it means that people can leave the project if they get busy, they can move on to something else, but then they don't become entrenched in those positions, so they don't put off anyone else from then entering in. Whoever works on the project should be the person that brings the most energy to that role.
Yeah.
A lot of the management functions are starting to spread out onto Podio. I noticed today we have a section for shows, we have existing shows, we have new shows, people can put their ideas up, and we also are starting to develop the idea that it's not just about talking on shows. Like, if you can talk about shows or want to talk and be visual or that kind of thing, it's great. But we also need people to schedule shows, to schedule guests for shows, to even write down topics and ideas, kind of a producer role. So we're starting to see the development of kind of a need for behind-the-scenes people at World Crypto Network. And again, maybe we can have a behind-the-scenes show. All the behind-the-scenes people can get together and be on TV too and have their own show. It's fun. But this complexity in managing this complexity is what we're looking at as the next problem that we're going to have.
And we're creating the jobs. This is the new industry that we're giving rise to. It isn't government creating jobs, it's people. People just using their imagination and responding to demands in the market. I've put a call out. We've had more people coming from countries like Ghana. I've got another audience member from Thailand. Thank you, Seafarer, for supporting me. So we're getting people from developing countries that are mostly, I'm finding that they're expats. They're not necessarily local or indigenous to that region, but they're expats, American or British, European. But they really grok the show. They really get what we're trying to do. And what was one person suggested? Oh no, sorry. So I suggested to Ray from Colombia, could he get me someone from the street, like just some guy, just find someone from the street and get them on the show so that we can actually start to hear their stories. I posted a tweet out the other day where I said, I wonder what would lie inside of that untapped human potential of all the people that were too busy trying to survive instead of thriving in life. Like, I wonder what they've got to give if only they had a little, something. And so I said, well, let's start that dialogue, right? Let's talk to somebody who is living, way below our standards of living, who's so busy trying to survive that they can't actually live their dreams. And let's ask them, like, what do you want to do with your life? If we, raise some money, like, what would you do with it, like, hypothetically, so that we could see what the world is missing out on, right? And so this then was like an absolute. This thread just got really extensive on Twitter. Everyone had something to say, so we're definitely going to have to kind of follow through on that and see if we can actually get people on the show that aren't necessarily from the privileged backgrounds that I know a lot of us are very fortunate to have.
One of the things that we talked about at 2 town halls previous was putting a bounty on news stories, like getting an independent journalist out of Ferguson to report on what's happening there. I thought that was a really cool idea. Now I've been out of the loop for a little while. I recently came back from vacation myself. Has there been any steps forward with bounty-generated news stories?
So what we've realized is that we desperately need a website, like a website where like it'll be in WordPress so that people can create their own sections of it. At the moment, it's just a blog. So at the moment, people are saying, well, where can I go? And so I'm just saying, well, just email me or reach out to me on Twitter, and then I'm adding people to Podio as and when. So yeah, we definitely need like landing pages. And the thing about raising money is it has to be somewhere. There has to be a page that's easy to find, that ranks highly in Google, where everyone can see, okay, this is how much money has been raised, and this is the goal, and here's the accountability, here are the people. At the moment, we don't really have that. We've kind of got a GitHub, which I'm finding nobody's really looking at. We've got a Reddit, which some people look at, some people don't. We've got a Twitter that not everyone follows, and even if you did, it wouldn't necessarily come up at the same time. So that's why I'm seeing Chris tomorrow, to see what he can kind of give us in terms of, you know, a website that we can just build a basic framework on, and then we can start adding sections and categories ourselves.
That makes sense, because it's like a little too decentralized at this point. Like there's projects and work happening all over the place, and there's
We've got more ideas than we've got time at the moment.
Well, that's a good problem to have. What about Nick? What's going on in your world? What's exciting with Bitcoin or your life? What do you?
Oh, I've been a little bit busy. We had one of my colleagues died 2 weeks ago, and we've been trying to recoup from that at work. But other than that, I'm just trying to get back into reading Bitcoin news, etc., and catch back up on everything. I'm looking forward to doing the book club. We're going to try to jump back on that, Tom and I, this week, maybe tomorrow, and finish it up next week.
What are you reading?
Snow Crash. I hope we can get somebody else, though, at least for the closeout show, to come in on who's read it with us and followed us on our live shows to join us in the discussion, because nobody has joined us yet. It's just been Tom and I, and we've consistently extended the offer out to people.
And Chris, you should really join in and read Snow Crash here. I know you read philosophy, and it's a novel, but it's so short and easy to read, fun.
It's a philosophical novel, and I am gutted to say that I was going to do the audio book, but Audible stole my money. And I bought some credits over a year ago, and they ran out after a year. It was like £100 worth of audio books that I missed. And I'm so gutted, because I registered with an old email address that I only use for spam, so I'm going to have to call them, and I'm going to say, look, could you please reconsider, because that's money that you just took off of me that I spent, and I didn't know it had an expiry date. And so, yeah, I'm going to give them a chance to make amends. If they don't, of course, I'm going to troll them like mad on social media. But they're owned by Amazon now, and that's why. In the old days, they were really good when they were just privately owned, but now they've sold out to Amazon, so... Yeah, so I was going to do it and do it on double speed and then be like, you know, totally on it, but...
Wow.
Well, you can still catch up for Neuromancer next month. William Gibson, one of his first books.
But we have to see what Audible say, because the thing is, I read 500,000 words a week, right, on average, and that's a lot. That's like War and Peace a week, right? So I've already got quite a big kind of like, so I can't do any more words. I have to do audio words. I can't do written word.
Don't you find audio words slower? Like, I mean, I tried to read an audiobook once, and it's like, I couldn't get it to go I was like, faster.
Double speed. You just put it on double speed when you play it back.
I'll try it if I try again, but generally I was like, I could just read this faster. So.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can have it in the background. You can listen to it when you're driving. You know, there's other things. There's sort of when you're doing the dishes or washing up or whatever it is. Like you can just have it on in the background.
Yeah, I have a Kindle that does audio, but I haven't used it in a while.
Yeah, I do the audiobooks when driving, especially when sometimes my commute will be over an hour each way. I'll put on the audiobook. It's good to do in slow traffic. Fast music is not good for traffic. The other thing, though, that is new in my life is I'm probably going to try to start paying my rent in Bitcoin. My landlord was asking if I could pay him digitally, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I can use this as an opportunity to start paying him in Bitcoin. So I'm going to have to start stocking up on more coins in order to pay my rent.
Yep, the first of the month just happened. I just paid my rent in Bitcoin. Boom. I love having a landlord who accepts Bitcoin. It's my favorite. It's because rent is like a big chunk of most people's income, for monthly expenses at least. And if you can handle that in Bitcoin, all the better. Freeing the world through a freer currency. Hey, speaking of, I thought one of the best articles that I read this week was by Julia Turianskaya at Bitcoin Not Bombs about the tactics of the bit license. Now, this is sort of old news on this show. We've been talking about the bit license since the name Losky hit the headlines, but she does such a great job of condensing the suspicions that some of the Bitcoin followers have of this ID and confirming them pretty much with background and evidence. So I thought I would just give a brief summary and reading of this article. What do you guys think?
Well, we covered this in the Bitcoin group, and I think it was right on. I think her article is very insightful. I raised the question, and I still do. She's trying to make the analogy between Bitcoin and communication, and whilst it's true that Bitcoin forms part of communication, it's not true that Bitcoin is all of it is communication. There's a big difference between me making a comment on a forum and me needing to disclose my identity and me speaking with something as important and valuable as money, as a store of value. So I think her analogy doesn't quite hold up to full scrutiny, but yes, her point is well taken, that if you applied this same level of regulation and stifled electricity or oil or something like that, you wouldn't have the kind of benefits that we've seen since.
Okay, well that's interesting. I want to hear more of your thoughts after a few of these quotes here. From Benjamin Losky, she quotes him at the beginning of the article, quote, "We're not the kind of agency that thinks we have a monopoly on the truth and that we're always right. We feel strongly about a lot of the provisions in the proposed regulations, but we get that there might be things we can improve." Seems like a reasonable guy. He's announcing his shortcomings right at the beginning, makes him a little more likable in the eyes of the public. So let's continue. Julia writes, "Shortly following the proposed bit license, a significant portion of the Bitcoin community wrote and signed a letter to the New York Department of Financial Services pleading for an extension. The extension was granted. The NYSDFS is cooperating. Losky wants the best for the future of Bitcoin in New York. Governments never lie. Regulations always work. And history never rhymes." As soon as the regulations were proposed, it was clear how things would unfold. First, the DFS would wait for people to make noise and complain, which totally happened. 2. The NYSDFS would pretend to listen using Losky as a friendly mediator, which they do all the time. This isn't just like a Bitcoin thing. This is totally predictable government action. Number 3, the Bitcoin community would proceed to be tricked into a false sense of security because we would feel our opinions are being taken into consideration. 4, because I'm not sure how many people were really tricked into that. 4, because these regulations were written with the foresight that corrections would need to be made, they were purposefully written to be insultingly overreaching. 5, at the end of this extension, the NYSDFS would cut out the most extreme sections of the bill, of the bit license, and leave us with the regulations that they always intended for us to have. And finally, 6, we will thank Losky and the NYSDFS for allowing us to do Bitcoin-related things, sort of. And again, that's the crux of her article. I thought that she, but you have objections to what they're, how she characterizes this as a communications technology. I'm not.
Yeah, well, only that one point in the part. Everything else, I totally agree with. That part you just read out, I agree with. No, it was just the part where she tried to make the analogy. I think it was between the telephone and Bitcoin, where she said that if this was the same, then she transplanted electronic communication with Bitcoin.
Right.
And my point is, look, it's not quite the same, because the reason why the telephone wasn't banned when terrorists started using telephones was because if you did, the net effect would be overall worse. Whereas the net effect of banning Bitcoin doesn't make terrorism worse. Arguably, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, I don't believe this myself, of course. Arguably, if you did allow Bitcoin, it's not that ISIS never would have existed, it's just that now you get ISIS on acid. Now you get that even more, because now they can send money even easier than they used to be able to. Now we know that's bullshit, and we know that these problems are best solved by actual proper police work and proper detective work, not lazy police that just want to sit behind a computer all day pushing levers and looking at where everyone's going. That's not police work, because it's not local, it's not contextual. Even when the police do police locally now, they're tooled up with guns and weapons and MRPs or whatever, the MRAPs or whatever the hell they're called. Okay, so they're not even relating to people anymore. That's left to the community. Russia Today have been doing some really good human interest pieces in America, because obviously they've got an agenda. They want to be anti-American. And they've been going around showing actually how community members are showing more responsibility than the police are. They've now got people that used to belong to gangs or still do belong to gangs in Chicago and Detroit that are going around the city acting as mediators, so that as conflicts arise, like, because it could be something, the guy was saying, could be something as trivial as someone, like, dropping their phone in front of someone else or something like that. And they said, if you don't nip that in the bud right there and then, that could escalate. And months later, you could have shootings because, so-and-so did a revenge on someone else. Police can't deal with it, because as soon as the police get involved, it automatically turns into a conflict. So instead, the citizens have taken things into their own hands, and now they're mediating. They're going around as mediators, and they are liaising with the police, and they're having sort of town hall meetings, but it's the only way they can stem it. Now, what is my point here? My point is, and always has been, that we can do a better job of policing than the police can. We are the police. Everyone's on the front line. And we've seen this time and time again when issues that came up with Mt. Gox and with Bitstamp. I know I'm repeating myself, but we get new viewers all the time, and I just want to drive this home, really, is that the best police were the people. It was the customers and the people that had the time and the diligence to go through the data. What Lawsky wants is the monopoly on the evidence. He wants to investigate it on his own so that he controls the outcome. And that's really, I mean, it's not all there is to it. There's a lot more to it than that, but I think that's the crux of it. He wants to do all the police work for himself, and he doesn't want us to do it.
Well, it does sound like that is the crux of it. It's not an oversimplification to say it's about control. That's what it is. And I'm seeing lots of chatter in the chat room about some Reddit thing, YouTube taking tips but charging too much for that. What's that all about? Someone explain.
Well, that's this has just come through. I just found this on my Reddit stream. Let me just pull it up.
Was that you been posting about this?
Yeah, that was me. Yeah. Oh, I didn't post it on Reddit, but I saw it on Reddit and I posted it in the chat room.
Yeah, post it in the chat room here.
So there are two things we need to be worried about here. First of all, they're charging extortionate fees. So it's not going to be as cheap as using change tip with your Bitcoin.
On Bitcoin tipping?
No. Oh no, sorry. No, wait, sorry, I should have said. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, so Chris, you have to go back to intro. So on our Bitcoin right now, breaking from Evil Potato Guy, YouTube now allows tipping, but look at those transaction fees. The YouTube fan funding system is here. I haven't read the rest of the article, but it's very clear right here that to send $1, you would have to pay a fee of 71 cents. So if they sent, they're hoping it would be $10, and then you would only pay 71 cents. But basically, to send anything, you're going to have to pay 71 cents. So this is not micro tipping. It's not futuristic. It doesn't take any of the advantages of Bitcoin or existing cryptocurrency systems. Google didn't make their own cryptocurrency system. Nothing unique or new has happened here. They're just putting in another ridiculous fee service. So.
And then you got Chucky McGee saying, watch them start prohibiting Bitcoin donation links. And so the thing that came to my mind is, what happens if they don't like our videos because we've got the Bitcoin QR codes in the top corner?
Oh, they can't get rid of Bitcoin QR codes. So they're gonna
but they can ban the account.
Well, not just that. What about ChangeTip? ChangeTip currently puts comments into YouTube videos. They could say they don't like that. They could remove that functionality. And right now you can use ChangeTip on Reddit, Tumblr, Twitter, YouTube. Google Plus. It's really
So
incredible.
this is going to be, it'll be a tricky thing for them, because the smart move for them to do would be to buy ChangeTip. That would be the smart move, and it's probably what ChangeTip want as well. I don't mean to speak for the company, because I don't, but like, they're entrepreneurs. I mean, they've already shown that they don't really care too much about PR. You know, they'll happily use an external communications company to pump their message. So they're clearly not the smartest. You know, they're not up with it. They're not down with the community. They're not really kind of integrating themselves, other than Kate and the good job that she does. But as I understand it, she's not in charge. So probably what they'll do is they'll buy out ChangeTip, because they're not stupid. They don't want to alienate, you know, potentially hundreds of thousands of potential customers that are Bitcoiners.
So people have the option right now to either use ChangeTip or now Bitcoin or YouTube's own tipping system.
Yeah.
And use YouTube's tipping system. They're basically, who are they paying? I mean, does YouTube get that money, or is it just?
It'll be the credit card companies and also Google. Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading that it was mostly the credit card companies.
Oh, great. Well, I just can't wait to give more money to the credit card companies. I've been looking for more ways to do that, so this sounds like a great method. I can't believe people wouldn't just switch over to Bitcoin. This is actually good news for people who haven't adopted Bitcoin yet, but want to tip YouTube content creators, because they'll be like, oh, well, I can pay $1 in US dollars, and they'll get 29 cents of it, or I can send $1 in Bitcoin and they'll get all of it. Or what does ChangeTip take? Do they take a fee?
Yeah, but it's a lot smaller than what these guys do.
They don't have a fee yet, though, and I think it's only for when you take your change out of your.
They were charging a withdrawal fee, but now they have like a withdrawal fee holiday. So we'll see how that goes.
What's your boycott New York tag you've got? You've got a hashtag boycott New York. Tell me about that, Pyro.
Oh, that's just because you know the BitLicense and stuff. I keep trying to get that going every time it pops up. But Zappo just recently said that they've had no choice but to block people from New York. I don't know if you've seen that. I posted a link in chat. I can't do screen sharing, or I would.
Okay.
But,
get the article up for us. We'll screen share it.
They've said that if New York's going to go through with this bit licensing thing, they can't service customers there. They will just block people from New York from doing business, which I think is awesome. We should all support that. That is good business practices.
And now we also have to take it upon ourselves to help the people of New York to get around their own IP addresses so that they can pretend to be customers from somewhere else. Because it's not fair to the people there, right? They're just innocent victims of Benjamin Losky's mayhem and destruction. So we should help them out. We're techie people. We can help them mask their IP address, use Tor or something. Will that correct the problem for Zappo?
Probably not. No.
What do you mean?
I think Zappo requires a address because of the way their service works.
Oh no!
They're like they're like the ATM card or a debit card for Bitcoin, and I think insurance.
Wow. So there's really no way we can help these people, or what? Can we?
Not for Zappo, no, but. Maybe other services, yeah.
What if they set up like LLCs in another state, and so they've got a piece of paper with an address somewhere else, so they could still have all the.
That's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good idea.
How do the corporations get around the rules? See what they do.
Right. So yeah, you nailed it. Well done. That's it. That's exactly what we need to be asking. Is they get jurisdictional arbitrage because they're big and scary. We were having this conversation, and Juicy, what's his name? Juicy Grab Bitcoin or something like that. He was saying that basically this is state. Well, we were both talking about state capital, state control of capital. He was like, it's fascism. Because what you've now got, this is what Mussolini actually said. He said that fascism was better described as corporatism because it's the merging of state and commercial interests. So now, instead of a market, you've just got one big buyer and then a whole bunch of people who think that they're free. They feel like they're free because you give them a choice between two parties that are the same. And so as long as they go to the polling booth every 4 years, and they think they've got choice because they've got 100 channels of shit. But really, it's just, 100 channels of shit. And they think that they're free because they can buy their frappa lattes and they can either have it with vanilla or they can have it with cinnamon, but they're not really free because it's all shit coffee anyway. And there's just the illusion. You're just putting people inside of a hologram, because the smart money knows. The smart money knows you don't cheat unless you know you can't. You don't play, sorry, unless you can cheat. That's the point. You don't even go into a game unless you know that you can fiddle the numbers, unless you know you can play around with the books, unless you know you can offshore the things. I mean, but what's good now is that we've got this community of people, this industry of Bitcoiners, and now I can actually get advice on how to offshore my company. So I'm actually going to set up myself as an entertainer, and I can actually offshore all my profits. I've been told to Holland, where the Netherlands, where artists live tax-free. So all I've got to do is go over to the Netherlands every now and again, and I can use that as a holiday, you know, and it's a nice country, I like it there. And then I can just live tax-free offshore. Well, why not? The corporations do it. I can just set up a corporation too, right?
Absolutely, you can. And I would love to see shows like this help people do that. Do we know any world crypto networkers who are living in...
Well, in London, we have Sean, and she is an advisor, and I've spoken to her before at London Bitcoin Meetup group, so I'm going to get her on board and, you know, see what she has to say. And plus, there's a group of accountants actually in the London Bitcoin scene, and I'm sure there is in other Bitcoin Meetup groups as well. And if you are someone who knows about these things, you should get in touch and make yourself known in the Q&A, bottom left-hand corner of this video.
Yeah, you know, and I know some of the Bitcoiners in New York City. I wonder if any of them would be interested in revealing the ways they could set up an LLC or some other corporatist way to bend the rules in their direction. Because, you know, like Benjamin Lawsky and all the rest of these regulators, they do set up loopholes for their friends. So if we could find those and then let our friends know, we could all use them. Loopholes are where freedom peeks through, and
and that's part of what Snow Crash is about. In Snow Crash, it's dangerous to go out without being part of a corporation, because the governments are just another corporation. You're with the Fed group, you're with the Mr. Lee's Greater Hong Kong group, you're with the pizza franchise that's owned by the mafia. And that's where we're going, these little city-states of power and connectivity, people switching sides, not knowing which side they really work for. And that's why I think we do need our own corporation. I've floated this idea before. Oh, we're getting a call.
Yeah, we sure are. I'll take it.
Who we got?
Hey, caller from the 281 area code. You are on Bitcoin Talk Show. Go ahead with your thoughts. I'm not hearing anything from you, caller. So you might have to, I don't know, check your connection. Skype in. Everything seems to be working on this end, so don't quite know why we weren't hearing that caller. Anyway,
we've got a good comment from Jamie Nelson on Twitter. Jamie says that Delaware is cheap to incorporate, and he's right. Delaware is a U.S. state where the credit card companies actually moved in there and changed all the laws. So all of the laws that we used to have in other states against usury, which is I think usury is like 10%, and the credit card companies charge 30% or more. So all the usury type laws were taken care of because you can just go to Delaware.
Otherwise known as interest.
Interest, yeah, usury interest. Well, usury is excessive interest. So some could say any interest at all is excessive because it makes it almost impossible to pay back the debt, as the debt is constantly expanding in even the smallest way. It's mathematical problems.
I guess unless you produce value. Because value can...
Right, all right, okay, no, that's a good point. So, yeah, we've had this debate before, and what it really boils down to is you don't need to spend 30 years paying off that mortgage. You know, 5 years is enough. 10 years is, you know, okay, a little bit. But what they need is they need you to be in debt. The problem is that the current system requires you to be in debt for that long because it needs the fees. And if you try paying it off sooner, you're penalized.
Are there ways to take on debt in Bitcoin? And if so, what are they?
There are ways to what, sorry? Taper debt.
Take on debt.
You wouldn't want to go into debt in Bitcoin.
BTC Jam. BTC Jam allows you to borrow money in Bitcoin denominations or in dollar denominations locked to Bitcoin. So, and that's complicated. Like you could get, if the price of Bitcoin goes down and you lend money in dollars, you could actually get more Bitcoin back when you get paid back. So it's a hedge against the price going down if you're loaning. And then, of course, if you're getting a loan, BTC Jam has a new system that's kind of related to Facebook, where you can have kind of a social loan, and I think that's going to be a really exciting system in the future, where your friends could vouch for you, even put up sums of money so your friends would lose money if you didn't pay back your loan. And then this also goes back to reputation, like we've been talking about. Someone needs a loan, they come through, they build a good reputation, and that the future is all about measuring these reputation systems and creating them, basically.
So I'm at the website here for BTC Jam. What is it? It's an exchange?
It's like a loan place. It's like you have to provide. They started out doing anonymous loans, and it really didn't go well. People are not responsible enough for anonymous lending, is the kind of the end result of that experiment. Unfortunately, they lost some money. But their new system is you kind of have to prove everything about yourself, and then you can get a loan. And it's microloans for people in other countries. It's pretty much like Kiva, but it's done through Bitcoin. So
cool, I dig it. What sort of stuff do you have to prove about yourself?
I think, well, I mean, all the basic government-type documents, but they also do online profiles. So more and more having a Facebook account can really show, like, your back log, like who you are, like who you're connected to, that kind of thing. Word. And if you're authentic, the authenticity of a person can be proved that way.
Hey, why don't we attack some of these questions in the Q&A? We got first up, Dr. G says, "Hello, you all. Find that Mad Bitcoins is back." So, I don't know what. I think "fine" sometimes is a text like typo for good. I see that. So good that Mad Bitcoins is back. Done. Is somebody follow the Ethereum development? Thanks, Dr. G.
I like that thing where you can be doing good or doing well, doing fine, that whole thing.
Oh, fine. Yeah. Fine that Mad I don't know. Whatever. We get it. We get the point. So is somebody follow the Ethereum development?
I have been following Ethereum, but I'm not sure which particular development he's talking about. They've still got too much money. The company's still too big. They still haven't released anything yet. We still have no idea how this thing's going to work. That's about the latest.
And we saw some crazy movement on BitShares X in the marketplace due to just basically rumors that they were working with the Ethereum team.
Well, it wasn't rumors. It was Dan Larimer saying we partnered with them. Except what happened is they just played some crazy golf together. Him and Vitalik had just played some crazy golf. They just went out, they just chatted as friends do, and then all of a sudden Dan's like launching into this PR thing, like, yeah, we're cool. We're like really trendy now. We're in with Ethereum. And he's like, Vitalik's like, chill out, dude. We just said we'd exchange some ideas like developers do. We never said we'd partner with you. I mean, come on, guys. They've got a brand to protect. Stop breaking that business model.
Whose? Ethereum's or?
Yeah, Ethereum's. Look, they built up that brand equity fair and square. They duped those people into over-investing in that stock fair and square. Do not start encroaching just because you've got a new stock and equity entering the market that's competing. That ends in an X, by the way, so it's really cool because it's like BitShares X, like, OSX. So, please don't break one another's business models and try to con people fairly.
This is kind of frustrating for me because I had always hoped that with the emergence of this technology that connects us and gives us the opportunity to have, definite forever reputations, that people would stop pulling these BS media marketing tricks of pulling the wool over people's eyes and promising the world and then delivering very little. It's like, that's not happening. I mean, I thought that because we would have this technology.
That is the media marketing trick. That is the whole trick. You promise more than you can deliver, and then you fail to deliver, and you keep the money.
No, that's supposed to be changing because we've got computers and video and accountability, and we can go watch YouTube videos from forever ago and say, like, hey, didn't you say when? And I mean, I don't know. I guess that's maybe our job.
You don't just solve the problem by throwing technology at it. That's the problem. And the thing is that these people may be very analytically intelligent, but they're not necessarily emotionally intelligent. They're not necessarily sensitive to social, the social things that we try to bring up on this channel. And the thing is, capitalism isn't finished. It's still an ongoing project. And one of the things that capitalism has to grow up and realize is that price is not the only measure of a unit of account in a market. Markets have been known for some time now in behavioral economics, although economics itself is a fraudulent profession because it's supposed to be the study of human action under conditions of scarcity. What it's actually turned into is the study of consumption. Like, how do you just get people to consume more and more and more? But behavioral economists have been saying for some time, markets are conversations. They're places where people use one another as a reference for price. Price and the actual, exchange value are not the only indicators. That you should be factoring in a lot of other different complex things. And yes, they're difficult to calculate, but we're going to have to get through this. And so that's where I think you've got a lot of old capitalists, old school, and actually I wouldn't even say they're proper capitalists. A lot of them are just crony capitalists. They think, yeah, it's like National Socialism, like the Nazi Party. It's like, yeah, capitalism for me and my, middle class friends, but not for everyone. Like, I don't care about that woman in Wu-Tang, China, like that's working in the factory. I don't care about her sentiment and pricing that into the market. That's up to her to sort out. But it doesn't take into consideration that the Earth belongs to everyone. Like, we're all here on this tiny little planet, and the universe is vast. So the differences between us are minuscule. And actually, we should be going out there and saying, actually, you being treated properly in this factory, and actually, why don't we, since Apple is putting $100 billion in cash reserves and inflating the bond market and creating another bubble in that stock, why don't we just pay you a bit more? It would make all the world a difference if you just doubled our salary, and it would actually, I think the statistic I read, it would only dent Apple's profitability by 0.01%, and they could literally double everyone's salary in China.
Yeah, but so then they lose all their investment through their stocks because they're not operating in the best interest of their stockholders. Their stock goes to zero, and then they're out a bit.
No, they haven't even paid any dividend. Yeah, but they're not even paying. It's not like they're paying dividends or even paying their home staff more.
Devil's advocate.
It's pathological.
They'll go out of business.
Absolutely.
They don't operate in the best interest of their investors.
Apple's a dividend stock now. They have a dividend.
They do now, sorry, they do now, you're right, but they didn't for a long time, and they came in for some heavy criticism. Also, Twitter have operated without profit since 2006, and they have not acted in the best interests of their investors, notoriously so. They didn't even have a business plan. They didn't have a business plan until last year, and then eventually, after all that time, they did say, oh, it's advertising, and everyone went, oh, fuck's sake. Oh, so it's just that after all that, you're just going to advertise to people? And now one
of the new messages I noticed when I came back was it said Twitter ads, and it was just like Facebook where I could sign up to promote my Twitter, and my tweets aren't getting enough attention. I can do sponsored tweets now and all these things that I don't want.
Selling to each other. And this isn't a nuanced approach to a market. What they're not doing, a lot of these old school capitalists, is they're not allowing for more complex signals to be accounted for in this system. Twitter got away with it for so long because they were so good at duping their investors. They were just so good at riding it out, look, what we're doing is a good thing, look at the Arab risings and all of these social things that they were doing, on the pretense that this stock would be worth a fortune by the time. Now, fortunately, what you're doing when you're buying that stock at that time is it's a management execution play. You're hoping that management can follow through on all the things they say they do. The problem is that doesn't work on the whole. It works for some outliers like Twitter, but then it's all about, well, can you tell the good one from the bad one? And sometimes it's not even down to the individuals within the company. Sometimes the context just gets the better of you. And usually investors, just my final point, the investors that usually get in on those kind of investors aren't your kind of mom and pop types. These are usually institutionalized investors that are hanging around at the right places, that are going to expensive dinners. You wouldn't have a chance of investing early in a company like that because you don't know the right people.
Well, and remember, Ashton Kutcher was a major investor in Facebook and Twitter early, and a lot of us that were using or even just looked at them at the time were like, obviously these are great investments, but we couldn't get in without $1 million. They have minimum limits for these kind of investments where they're obvious sure things, and you can't get in.
Well, a lot of Instagram, was it Instagram? Oh, Gorka didn't do too well. That was supposed to be all the rage. So they're not all, sure things necessarily.
Gawker doesn't really have a technology. They just have web pages, right? They're a group of web pages.
Was that was the one that was competing with Foursquare, wasn't it?
Well, Instagram is a picture site. Foursquare check-in thing. Gawker is like a celebrity news site.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of something else. I can't remember the name of it, but there was someone that was competing with Foursquare, and Foursquare won. It's like Betamax and VHS. You've got to know which horse to back. And then Instagram ended up pivoting and going into photos quite cleverly because they could see that Foursquare were winning because they were going with the check-in space as well. And then, of course, Facebook, well, they just swallow everyone up. They wait to see if you're successful, Google and Facebook, and then they just buy you up. And then, so this is what Patrick Byrne was saying in his talk, was that we tend towards oligopoly. And this is not a new problem. This is a problem that pretty much every civilization has faced.
Why is it a problem?
It's a problem because if only a few people end up owning all of the wealth, it creates a notion of unfairness across the population. It's one of the speculations as to why.
Why is it bad?
Why is that?
Why is that bad?
Power corrupts.
Why is it bad?
Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely.
It's not absolute power in an oligopoly. They have to compete with each other.
Not really,
right.
though. It's
what happened in the Mycenaeans, for example, the theory is, and one of the predominant theories is, and we don't really know, so don't have any writings, is that a lot of the people downed their tools because there's been a lot of economic experiments where if for example, you and I enter into a game, okay, Derek, and you're told that you're given like $20, and then you can flip a coin, and then you can decide how much I get and how much you get. But all I get is the power of veto. So what you do is you flip a coin, and you say, okay, you lost. I'll keep 80%, and you can take 20%. I get $18. Well, what I can do is I can say, no, that's not fair. Veto. Right? I can just say, right, neither of us get anything. And what tends to happen in those situations is people veto more often than you think, just because it feels unfair. They'd rather go without anything, right? Even though it was free money and that $2 was free. And I was. Say again?
I said that's bullshit.
Well, okay, but it's true. I mean, the results are what the results are. So
yeah, but I'd like to point out that no one has a right to vote your wealth away. And if you're willing to create something and produce something, then a person saying, well, that's not fair, that you can make more money than I can, doesn't give them a right to have any power over your income.
But it's not so much
about. You can't assume your wealth was made in a vacuum. Like your wealth was made.
Yeah, exactly. So what happened? The theory goes with the Mycenaeans is that the workers down tools. So what they were fed up with the rich just kind of scoffing all the wealth, and they were just working away. So they said, fine, we're not going to build your weapons anymore. We're not going to guard the fortress anymore. The fact is that your wealth came from a context, and that context was provided by me, and I'm just going to refuse. And then the Sea People and the Dorians or whatever, I don't know whether that's true or not, but then they got invaded because they got complacent. Because the wealthy got too wealthy, and the population said, well, you're wealthy because all of us are working hard, and so screw you. The fact is, ideas can come from
there's such a thing as too wealthy. I'd like to see that problem in the world.
The wealth gap got so wide that the people just went, it's not worth me working anymore. So they down their tools, and the civilization went out.
Why is it not worth working? If they're poor, if there's a wealth gap, why not work harder?
Well, we can't ask them, but I think, like, speaking contemporaneously, like right now I'm getting to the position where it's not worth me going to work anymore because I can't afford, even with the salaries as they are, I still can't afford to pay my rent. So I choose to opt out of that system because I'm not listening to my voice, I'm listening to someone else, I'm not even doing something I believe in. And they've just got me on a wheel, they've just got me on one of those hamster wheels. And it's like, no, actually, I don't believe in the outcomes of your projects. I mean, even Ayn Rand said, look, if you're going to sacrifice something, make sure it's towards some greater good. Otherwise, it's just altruism, and altruism doesn't exist. So, and I agree with her on that point. If you're going to make a sacrifice of some kind, at least own the sacrifice. And the problem for me now is that a lot of people in this country can't even afford to live. So I've actually been telling people to stop paying your rent then. The law's on your side. Just stop paying your rent, and then they've got no choice. They've got to capitulate at some point.
Wait a minute. Value for value. How could they live in a place and take advantage of a person's property without compensating them for it? If you don't pay, get the hell out.
Yeah, but they only charge as much as they can get away with, and a lot of the property prices are manipulated in this country by the
There's
estate
no
agent.
rule that says at birth Chris Ellis is allowed to live at X property. I mean, if you don't pay the rent for X property, the property owner.
Oh, right, yeah. No,
out.
no, you're right about that. It's just that we've got bullshit laws in this country that actually protect tenants, and it's stupid, and it shouldn't exist because the market should just be fixed from the ground up. I agree. It's silly, but what all that happens is we've got this kind of inherited this socialist nightmare in this country where the laws are so skewed. So on the one hand, we've got a free market, but then you kind of got these really left-wing laws that are protectionist, that try to protect employees and stuff. And all that does is just creates a whole load of legal crap. But I'm just interested in what kind of society do we want to live in? Do we want to live in a society where less than 4% of the people own more than half the wealth, and then a whole lot of other people?
I don't care because Margaret Thatcher had, and I'm no big fan, but she had a great statement about the liberals. She was, the so-called liberals in the parliament. She was saying you would rather the gap be down here between the rich and the poor than up here like this. We're both
it's about not. It's
gap. So we'd rather you all be poor.
No, that's a straw man because it's not about it's about giving people the ability to get out of poverty. It's about not leaving them to an indentured life of servitude. So I'm all in favor of wealth disparity as long as it can be the good people that are able to get to the top, as long as you don't have very talented people at the bottom can't get out of that situation no matter what they do. And that's what concerns me. I don't mind if J.P. Morgan, the workers at J.P. Morgan are living in a ditch. I mean, yeah, absolutely, they're a bunch of frauds. They deserve to be living in a ditch.
This is also a problem that's exacerbated by the way the currency and monetary policies are too, where they keep funneling, they print more money and they funnel it to the top, to those people who really don't need the more money, right? And they create more incentive for them to keep hoarding money because they know there's going to be more money. And it just doesn't seem to get down, and you're forced to participate in this monetary system in some places, like you have to pay your taxes in dollars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So some people just can't get out from under that kind of nonsense.
That's true. It's very difficult. Well, I think we answered the question. Is somebody following the Ethereum project? Let's move on to the next question. Just wanted to share this site with you guys. It's BitcoinPage.com. That comes to us the Mr. Axe. And here is the screen share of this beautiful website. Looks like there's links for getting started in Bitcoin, some market info, info about mining and tools, some Bitcoin statistics and calculators, some mining pool info, community links, institutions, businesses, news, and other. Very helpful website. Good job, Mr. Axe.
Can I make a suggestion as well? Is that he needs to get this reviewed by a reputable publication and have that near the top so that people can trust that those links are okay. That would be the only thing. I've just looked at a few of the links and ostensibly they look okay, but I would just get someone to endorse the website.
Sounds good. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, get one of those fancy watermarks up there that says like, the New York Times says the BitcoinPage.com is awesome. Or whatever. All right, good job, the Mr.
Also, it's got a section that says podcasts and shows. Has Let's Talk Bitcoin, the Bitcoin group, Mad Bitcoins. But
I'm not on there.
It needs World Crypto Network to be in there. We're not in there. So, World Crypto Network, man.
Hell yeah.
Life on Bitcoin is in here. I don't think they've done anything since February.
Wow.
Oh, here we go. They did a new video.
Hey, wait. Bits be gripping. Cool. Mad Bitcoins, the Bitcoin group. Nice. That's great.
It's cool. It's always good to be included.
Yeah. We got Spotted Marley writes, "What up, Bitcoiners?" Nothing. What's up with you, Spotted Marley? I wish you could reply to that. Thanks for the message. Spotted Marley also asks, pulling this question up, what are your thoughts on Open Bazaar? The beta opened this past weekend. Do any of you plan to check out the beta? Have you already? I'm seeing Nick nodding his head and shaking his head. What's the scoop, Nick?
I plan on checking it out, but I have not got around to it yet.
It sounds really cool. Open Bazaar is a decentralized marketplace. The idea being that it's a place that exists on the internet with no owners, and so no people to attack to take it down. It's sort of like a BitTorrent for eBay. Is that a fair assessment? Somebody.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it sounds like. Yeah, as a decentralized marketplace, and they have their reputation systems built in, etc. I get the one worry is that it's going to be used for illicit and maybe slightly unethical means. But
why would that be a worry?
I don't know. I don't personally care about that kind of crap, so I don't participate in it. So I just go to the things I like to do anyway. So it wouldn't really bother me.
Sounds like freedom to me. So exciting! I look forward to Open Bazaar having lots of cannabis, hopefully, that I can order from their website. I would love to be able to have cannabis options from around the world. Maybe some other fun recreational drugs, things that I just can't get in the regular world, or have a difficult time getting, or they become dangerous or untrustworthy. Open Bazaar, it has a reputation rating system, as I understand it, and so you'd be able to see whether or not people are being scrupulous with their dealings. And I would only want to buy from a merchant who's been on the receiving end of several positive reviews before I place an order. So very exciting. Sort of another one of those answers to the Silk Road. Who knows if this was an idea in the works before the Silk Road, but it sounds like it could answer the same question, solve the same problem. How do people interact with each other across the internet safely and transact with money and goods and services?
I was sorry to interrupt, but I was going to say, I think you could also, if you have a reputation in other marketplaces or in other communities, there's no reason you couldn't take it onto Open Bazaar and help use that to initiate your first couple sales or whatever. Maybe not somebody who's selling cannabis on Silk Road might not do that, but if you're selling knitted goods on like Etsy or something, you might be able to move it over to Open Bazaar and be like, oh, here's my Etsy account. You can check out all my reviews there, but I'm trying to use this new service.
Oh, come on. I mean, as much as I want to promote like the regulars being on an open platform, this is so designed for the underground market. And it's going to get that reputation right away. I mean, knitting needles aren't going to find their way onto this sort of Open Bazaar. They don't have a problem selling their wares already. It's the people in the black markets that have a hard time making exchanges in the digital world, and we need something like this.
Maybe it's somebody who just wants to take a political stand or be an agorist or whatever and move away from like the centralized system that is like Etsy or some of those other sites. I don't know. I agree with you. It's not mainly catered to those types of people, but there's no reason they can't participate as well.
There's nothing excluding them. You're right. I would just hope that they would gear their wares towards the consumers who are going to be on that website. Just a pro tip to Open Bazaar merchants out there. All right, moving on. Oh yeah, it's called Open Bazaar. Really cool idea. I'll be following it. I'll create a little thing on the website and maybe have an update for you next week. What else we got? Bitcoin Rat says, my Facebook comment was humor, guys. I don't know what that's about, but I assume you...
Well, he said earlier that Facebook was down. I actually looked it up on downrightnow.com, and it was actually down. It's been down quite a bit recently.
All right.
Supposedly Gmail was earlier as well.
You were right, Bitcoin Rat. Okay, and Theo Goodman says, if you would like some Doge Party assets, then you can pray for assets. I don't know. Oh, he says, sorry, pray for assets at coinprayers.com. I don't know what that's about. Any of you?
Well, Theo set up some scam coins, which is fantastic. And yeah, he set them up on Doge Party.
Yeah, he set up a scam coin to make fun of some of the other scam coins, and he's like open with it that this is a scam. It's an asset backed by nothing. You can just participate in it. It's fantastic.
You can pray for assets? How does that work?
I guess you just pray to the crypto gods, don't you? And you just maybe he sends you some.
Wow, sounds great. Okay, thanks, Theo.
Good.
We got another good question from 1BitByBit, who asks, since Apple is doing such a great job of protecting people's pictures in the iCloud, what do you think about the iWallet that's coming out in a week? Is it good for Bitcoin adoption or bad? What do you think?
Well, it'll be bad, won't it? Because the idea is that they're going to take away a lot of that user base from Bitcoin because people will just use fiat. And what we were talking about today on my show is the idea that people still don't really get how this works under the hood. People haven't been given a good enough reason as to why to adopt Bitcoin. They can see that it's this thing, and most people aren't interested in the speculative side. They're just interested in day-to-day conveniences. So the problem was that if Apple bring this out, that people won't bother with Bitcoin. They'll just use dollars if you can make it all look like it's quick and efficient.
I don't know. Maybe this isn't the strongest argument, or maybe it hasn't been the one that gets Bitcoin adoption going. But my argument for loving Bitcoin is a moral one. That I don't want to support the wars that governments cause, or the murders that governments cause, and all currencies that I'm aware of are government-backed, except for gold and silver, which I can't send across the internet. So Bitcoin is the winner. And
I'm with you on that. That's one of the main reasons I started using it as well. I don't want to be forced into a collective coercious environment and having to use their shitty money.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my thing. I think the iWallet coming out will probably be... I think it'll be good for Bitcoin adoption, frankly, because, like one bit by bit points out, people like us can say, oh yeah, Apple will keep your money totally safe, like they did all your pictures in the iCloud, and like Target did with your credit card data. I mean, it's time to switch over to a technology that can, I don't know, that doesn't put so much identity at risk.
Well, and remember, there is a choice. If you look at the way that blockchain is setting up their wallets, they don't actually hold your keys. They can't get into your account. There's a way to do this with computing, solutions that will solve the problem, but Apple's unlikely to do that. They have to be in your account. They have to be able to reset your payments to refund things, that kind of stuff.
That's no good. That doesn't sound very good. All right, but it looks like it's coming out this week. That's something to watch.
That's what we saw with Coinbase. Coinbase is now canceling users' accounts if they send money to a gambling website. So they're looking at your transactions one at a time and they're judging them. Yeah.
That is bullshit. Get out of my head, Coinbase. I don't want to know what
you should check out a company like Copay, right? So Copay kind of do what Armory does, but online. Except this time, it's okay that they do it because you've got two of your keys. So they've got one key. You've got two keys, and you can't send a transaction without a two out of those three. So even if they get raided or they get their database taken, you can't lose your coins. So this could be an interesting take on it.
Oh my God, awesome! That is a great idea.
See, so this is what I mean. We need to adopt this technology root and branch, not just the bits we like. We need to understand the whole thing.
And that Copay is a BitPay product, just FYI.
Okay, fine, yeah. That's good.
What do you mean we have to accept this thing root and branch? I don't follow. I mean, I'm excited about Copay. That's one of the things I like. So what are you talking about?
I mean, it's a multifaceted invention, and people are only paying attention to small pieces of it, like it's currency or it's email for currency or something like that. It's like, no, it's a distributed timestamp server, has the ability to prove events took place over distance and time. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm only an amateur physicist, but Einstein said this would never be possible. He didn't think that if you were in your reference frame and someone else was in their reference frame, he said there's no way of proving that an event takes place or is witnessed by someone else. All you can do is take their word for it. Because you have to be able to be there in order to know that it happens. And what Satoshi has done, it later became known as the Byzantine generals problem. How do you get communication to travel over distance given that there are barriers and latency and all kinds of loyalty issues in the way? And Satoshi answered that. He said as long as you're willing to sacrifice a bit of time in the middle, let's say 10-minute intervals, then you can still get everyone to agree on the truth of what happened anywhere in the world so long as they've got internet access. He made that work, and that is the geniusness of this invention. And what services like this have shown is that you don't have to rely on a counterparty to look after all your money. You don't have to rely on the government, because it's not just the fact of the convenience of it, it's also the base risk. With Bitcoin, it's not controlled by anyone. You haven't got a government that's going to go to war like you say, but that's not why people, at the moment, people have got very specific reasons, and it's usually just the convenience, you know, frictionless shopping, that kind of thing. But that's the reason they're adopting it, and I'm saying that we need to understand this thing, root and branch, the whole thing.
I follow. All right, very good. Is there some sort of Bitcoin symbol yet? And if not, there should be, like a Bitcoin gang sign. In Bitcoin Philadelphia, we used this to identify each other, which was the American Sign Language symbol for B. So, like, when you talk about Satoshi, I want to be like big ups, you know, like, but instead of like kissing a peace sign to the sky or something, there should be like a Satoshi, like, big ups for Satoshi. I don't know, some sort of gang sign.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah. What do you think, Thomas?
I like the idea. That could be a good one. Maybe something more visual. I don't know if you can make your hand look like a bee or something.
Yeah, keep thinking of it, or maybe like an S or something. All right, so back to Theo Goodman. He answered our question and our prayers. He says, it is a faucet, but to get your prayer answered, you must leave a prayer. If the prayer is answered, you get free Doge Party assets. Coinprayers.com. Very interesting. Thanks, Theo. Thanks for disrupting the system, making it fun. What else? We also got Dr. G, who says, Mr. Chris is right about the talk earlier. And then he gives a link to something that I can't click on. So I'm going to have to take his word on it. And I don't know, I can sort of read it. It says 37, Get Middlecoop's bestseller, The Biggest Reset Tweet.
The link is to a book by Willem Middlecoop called The Big Reset. And basically, according to this Seeking Alpha book review, it says he provides a history of the banking and monetary system. Then he says that it's going to collapse, and there'll be a big reset. So it sounds like the basic idea of what he's going for.
Says who? How does he know?
He seems to be studying other economic systems and just looking at the way.
This is quite well known, actually. I've noticed. I've got it on Google. You know,
Wait,
you can.
The future is quite well known. Explain that one.
Say again.
I said the future is quite well known. How's that?
No, so it's not that it's well known. It's just that lots of people, including from mainstream now, like The Economist and also The Telegraph in the UK, have been, and the Financial Times have been commenting that the dollar is probably heading for collapse. Why? Because we've seen this before. We've seen fiat collapse. Every single fiat money system collapses, and they usually collapse around the same kind of circumstances that we're seeing now. Bear in mind that Hitler successfully brought down the British Empire, and he took the pound away from the British as the world reserve currency. America was kind of an unwitting world reserve currency. It never really, like at the end of the 19th century, no, Lincoln wasn't saying let's become a global superpower and everyone will be watching our films and reading our books and our music. That was never on the roadmap for America. It sort of happened that way because Europe lost its mind in 1914 and we went off into these wars. British lost the world reserve currency. Pound sterling no longer was world reserve currency. We didn't finish paying off our debts to the Americans here in the UK until 2006. We didn't clean up our last Nazi bomb site until late in the 60s. In fact, the school that I went to in the 80s still had the remnants of a bomb. It hasn't been fully fixed. We were still in classrooms which were plastered, you know, from the bomb that was like, you know, 80 years before. It was insane because this country was so indebted to America. So America, which financially did very well out of World War II, just kind of like accidentally became the world power and it went off the gold standard very early.
Accident about that.
Well, it wasn't once it came about, it wasn't. But what I'm saying is that the whole thing wasn't exactly geared up. You had a major depression in 1929. The only reason the dollar was used as the gold standard is because, well, what we now know happened with the Rothschilds and JP Morgan and so on. So that was kind of put together by a group of people. It wasn't exactly like, oh yeah, let's build this thing to last, was it?
No. It's pillage. That's like what seemingly all empires do right before a collapse is pull the old like Indiana Jones, like grab the last, as the door's closing, grab whatever you can and go. So it seems like that's what's happening. Yeah, so I was just talking about the big reset. I mean, that to me sounds like, everyone gets their credit zeroed and everyone starts fresh again. That doesn't seem as likely to me as it might have a few years ago when I was like, "There's collapse."
It's more like That's more like the ending to Fight Club, where they blow up all the credit card buildings in Delaware so that the record would be erased and they would go back to zero, which is more of
a lot of fantasies about that, but I don't think that would be a good thing.
It's definitely, I mean, of course, if they had any backup hard drives from that building, all that demolition would have been a waste. But it's a nice fantasy idea to go back to zero. But I think what this author is talking about with the Big Reset is more like the Die Hard 4 movie, where they use the famous phrase "fire sale." And in the kind of conspiracy world, the idea of a fire sale is really terrifying to everyone. And the Die Hard movie made it seem kind of light. And that's what they do in movies. But yeah, fire sale, everything must go. Everything must go.
And we're talking about currency here, so people are trying to get rid of their dollars. And it sounds...
We're talking about everything. We're talking about like society. Everything in society is all up for grabs now. All of the rules and laws have broken down. It's like a Genghis Khan mentality, kind of like a real fire sale.
The American civilization has built too many dependencies. People need medications in America, and when your currency only buys you half of what it did a couple of weeks ago, suddenly you find people that needed medication that aren't getting their medication. You suddenly start up, you get a lot of rioting, you get a lot of protests, and you get civil unrest. It's not like it's unprecedented. We have seen it before. We're seeing it going on all over the world. And then another country, let's say, I don't know, pick one at random, Russia, China, will seize the opportunity to launch a transfer of wealth. So then they'll start their PRFO. Have you tried watching Russia Today? The whole thing's just a big propaganda machine. And I watch it because, you know, it's not all bad. There is some good stuff on there. But they are on a massive, massive PR offensive to pump gold, pump silver. Max Kaiser, pretty much every show now, trashes the dollar, gets his guests to trash the dollar, says, when is this all going to be over? When are we all going to be, you know, living off of food stamps and all that? He's waiting for it. Look at all the videos. Typing dollar collapse to YouTube, there are about 5 videos being posted up every week from yet another YouTube account that's controlled by InfoWars or controlled by Russia Today. And they're really gunning for it.
Their motive. What are they?
What they want, transfer of wealth. They want the wealth to shift to China and Russia. That's why Russia's just sold. You see this news story recently, they're selling all the gas.
Have a benefit from that.
Say again?
Why would InfoWars benefit from that?
Oh, God knows why that guy's like, he's as bad as the people that he protests against, that Alex Jones. Like, he's got an agenda. I don't know what his agenda is.
The most important thing about InfoWars is that they provide absolutely no solutions. Everything on their channel seems primed to freak you out and get you into this fear state where you can't move, you can't make any decisions. Then they put those ads on for buying food, stockpiling weapons. It's clearly like, what's their motive? What they clearly seem to be selling fear. Like, there is a problem, but we need to focus on the solutions. If we focus on the problem, we're steps behind. We're playing the old game. We need to play the future game. The solutions.
I didn't start taking this seriously, Derek, until I started seeing The Economist and The Telegraph reporting on it. And then once I saw them reporting on it, I was like, okay, you're not just doing this for the clicks. This is clearly something that everyone's worried about. What I'm hearing from more the sensible quarters in this space is that the American economy is kind of in a controlled demolition, where the Fed have pretty much given up. They pretty much know that $16 trillion of debt ain't ever going to get paid off. If you count between, I don't remember this statistic exactly, count between 1 and a million, you'll do it in like 3 days or something. But to count to 1 to a trillion would take you 30 years. And people don't understand exponents. They don't understand the power of large numbers. And as a result, they think 16 trillion, yeah, sure, okay, not in my lifetime, but eventually, if we keep chipping away at it, no. It would take millions and millions of years to pay this off, i.e., it ain't getting paid off. They know it ain't getting paid off. And you don't want to be a day late. When the crash happens, you want to be a day early. And it looks at the moment like China and Russia and the BRIC nations, Brazil and India, are getting together and saying, look, why don't we just start buying hard assets, gas, oil, gold, food, start stacking this stuff, so that in the event that we all start selling our dollars, yeah, okay, we'll lose because we're quite entangled with the dollar, but we won't lose everything. At least we'll then be able to pick up the slack and become the new world reserve currency.
They've already started to move off the dollar, though, China and Russia. They've already they used to do business with each other in the dollar, and they've said, no, we're no longer going to do that. We're going to do it in gold or the yuan or whatever. And you have like he just said, the BRICS nations are doing the same thing. They want to get away from the dollar. supposedly OPEC is even looking to get away from the dollar.
Right,
So.
and now that's when the shit's going to go off, because what's happening in Ukraine at the moment is all about gas and agriculture. So it's not fucking because, Putin one day picked up a history book and went, oh look, Kiev used to be the capital. Whatever happened to Kiev? No, it's because the NATO countries were rounding up against Russia, and then because America had interests there, and the European Union wants to set up the USA of Europe, like it wants to turn it into like the USA, except of course we've never been a federated republic, and we've got lots of different languages and lots of different cultures. It doesn't really work. But they're now you're getting lots of propaganda on the BBC, and I'm not one of these conspiracy theorists at all. Like, I'm just a regular person. And even I can see it now. The BBC are doing interviews with people in Moldova, which is just south of Ukraine. And it's like, look how European they are. They're all drinking lattes and they're sitting by, out al fresco like Parisians do. And it's like, my God, my mind is being controlled. Like a producer has just gone out, commissioned a shoot, and made these people in this country in Eastern Europe look like they're Parisians, look like they're French or British or something. And it's a big deal. Like, this is not cool. That's why Russia's acting the way it is. I don't necessarily agree with invading a country either, but I can see why they're doing it.
Well, let's not fall into the InfoWars trap of talking about problems without addressing some solutions. One of the
Bitcoin.
that I see, well, yeah, okay, of course, Bitcoin. But one of the solutions that I see to a problem you just brought up, Thomas, is propaganda. And I think the World Crypto Network is one of the solutions, among many others, that's doing something to combat that propaganda. I mean, I know this sounds like too high and mighty, but by bringing, I think it's important that we focus on truth. And CNN and these BBC news outlets, like, let's be real, they're paid for propaganda, and we're not. So. Or at least we're propaganda of a different stripe. Let's be.
And it's pretty embarrassing when they cut to commercial in the middle of the news. It really shows you like they were covering Ferguson, and I was watching it. I was totally captivated. They had cameras there. They were doing a good job, and then they're like, "Wait a minute, we've got to sell you some snack cakes." And I'm like, "But what's going on? What happened to my whole need to see? If I need to see live, how can you cut away for snack cakes?" Like, it's ridiculous. Like
another solution, like. I don't mean to freak anyone out, but, I stack gold, Bitcoin, water, food, guns. I'm not some survivalist living in a basement somewhere, but, like, let's be real. If the collapse is, if there's anything going on where the dollar's being devalued and people are going to start looking for exits, having a passport might be something you want to consider. If a lot of Americans don't have a passport. Don't wait before it's that like week or two where you're saying, hey, honey, I think we should leave the country now. It takes a few months to get that passport processed, and it costs money, and there are pictures. You could be denied. So, like, these are some solutions that you could start implementing in your own life. What are some other solutions that I haven't mentioned yet?
You should probably try and get 2 passports. So if you're European, try and get an Irish passport, because internationally the Irish don't piss anyone off. The problem with conflict is if you turn up to a border and you've got a British passport and that country is not sympathetic to British interests, then of course that ends up acting against you. Most of the journalists I used to work with recommended a Republic of Ireland passport. So if you've got anyone in your family that comes from the Republic of Ireland, they recommend that because diplomatically they're pretty nice.
Anyone else? Tips for surviving the coming economic collapse? What are you doing?
Make friends. Make lots and lots of friends. Get a good reputation, so when people, they know you or they know somebody who knows you, so when you can go to them and be like, oh, do you need a hand with something, or can you help me out? They're like, oh, I know who you are. I can help you out. Reputation is going to be incredibly valuable when you don't actually have money to exchange.
And you've got to do it authentically. So don't just fucking go around being like, kiss ass to people. Just do what you do and just talk about it more and make sure that, people can see what the work that you're doing. Help other people first. Don't expect anything in return. That can come through if you don't do it like that. Don't expect any immediate return. Stack trust and look at countries like Chile, places that have good reputations for not kidnapping Westerners, because a lot of those countries do. Look to maybe go on a tourist visa or something and see if they allow you to claim asylum once you're in the country. Sometimes you have to leave the country before you can claim asylum.
Yeah, all good tips. I don't know if I can get a second passport being an American, but I'll do my best. I'll do my best to get the first one. Okay, we got another comment. This one from Andrei. Andrei?
Andre, yes. He's my friend. He was on Chris Before Coffee last week.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you, Andre. He says, the last thing Bitcoin needs is more gang mentality. More gang mentality? I don't know what he means by that. I haven't seen
When we
it.
were talking about the B.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because we got our, like, Bitcoin gang symbol now. But, I mean, is that so harmful? I don't think so. Maybe he's just kidding.
Not like tribal. You wouldn't want it to be tribal.
I don't know. I just meant, like, it's a way to recognize people. Like, when I go to Bitcoin meetups, it was tough to see, like, is this a group of people meeting for Bitcoin? Is this just some student study group? Like, what's going on here? If you have some sort of, like, oh, hey, like, some sort of symbol, you can, show that you're, like, one of them. I don't know. Didn't, like, Star Trek have Nanu Nanu or something? I don't know. I'm confusing my references now.
No, that was a Robin Williams sitcom, wasn't it?
That was Mork and Mindy.
All right, so...
But no, they had, like, that one that I can't do where you separate your...
Live long and prosper. That was their thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Mike. Okay. Thank you, Andre. Learn a martial art. Oh, this is a tip from Theo Goodman. Ways to prepare for the coming economic collapse. Learn a martial art. Learn how to make a fire. Get food and water to bug in for a month or two. Learn first aid. Learn how to stand up to bullies. A lot of great suggestions. Oh, and another one comes to mind that I hadn't considered. Start a garden. Even if you're in the city, these vertical gardens, a lot of people are able to have like a closet door garden. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I lived in the city, and I had a garden myself. Sometimes you can have one out on your balcony, on your windowsill, or these new door gardens that they're like hanging, where you would put like shoes and a bunch of cubbies or something. Well, you can have a hanging garden that goes vertically. You water all the ones at the top. It drips all the way down to all the plants. And you've got all that wall coverage, so if you can stick the door in some place that gets light, you've got a whole garden in your apartment. Very, very cool, and a way that you could eat in a collapse scenario. Not that, like, I don't know, none of us are experts on living in a collapse. I certainly don't want this to happen, but
I think Nick is. Nick knows quite a bit about it.
And I'm not super prepper or anything, but I do definitely keep, 3 weeks of water, 3 weeks of food. I have guns and ammo. And I think books. Keep a lot of books. I have like 7 or 8 books on homesteading. I know that sounds excessive, but I bought like 2 or 3 of them, and then people just started giving me more as gifts, and I was like, awesome. And I've read all of them. There's a lot of redundant information in there, but yeah, I have tons of books.
I would want books if I'm bunkering down, but if I had to travel, like, books are not going in my bug-out bag. If I'm crossing the border on foot, like, forget it. Books are not coming with me. They're too heavy.
But you can put them in digital form and keep, on your Kindle or your tablet or your phone, and have a little, battery pack with a solar panel charger or something.
Cool. Oh, hey, we got a suggestion from One Bit by Bit. He says, use Bitcoin and prosper. I think that's an improvement on the Star Trek, Star Wars. What is it? Star Trek. And Theo says, as long as the symbol doesn't create an in-group. Well, how could it? Everyone can do this. I mean, unless you've got your thumb chopped off or something, everyone can make this simple. I don't see how it could create an in-group.
Well, it's like a secret handshake, isn't it?
It's not secret anymore. Here, guys, this is one symbol. Anyone can use it. I hold no copyright on your holding.
So can I just share my screen quickly? This is going on in the UK, and I'm probably breaking a law by showing you this, but Wilberforce on Twitter has just shown me this, and apparently it's on Bitcoin.
What is it?
It's a virtual currency inside the dark web. Oh, this is getting more and more popular now. Let me see if I can play this to you so you can...
We have no record. They started seeing transactions in the sort of the digital exhaust that led them into Silk Road. And so now you had criminal grounds to start taking a look at this, coupled with the movement from the financial side and regulatory side on.
Oh, okay, my internet's kind of cut out. I thought that might
What's he talking about?
Wait, they're talking about Silk Road and Bitcoin and Wilberforce, so I'll have to watch that on catch up later on. My bandwidth just isn't going to be able to keep up with that there. But yeah, so it's on Bitcoin and the Silk Road. We've actually had quite a few BBC journalists snooping around our meetups. We've had Click that have done a show on us, which is a very popular show. It's got like 8 million followers worldwide. And so actually, the credit to the BBC, they have actually been very good at following this news story, following Bitcoin, and actually of all the mainstream TV networks, they do tend to talk about it fairly intelligently. They don't make stupid gaffes like the CEO committed suicide or anything stupid like that.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. At least there's a thread of integrity in mainstream journalism. So Jamie Nelson writes, yes, entertainment, cards, and dice. So we're still getting suggestions about what to include in your bug out bag or what you might want to get in preparation for some bad times. Another one comes to mind. What would be great to trade with people?
Magic the Gathering cards, right?
Yes, I would want.
Hey, you knock it, but some of those cards have been holding their value and steadily going up year after year after year. They're not like an unsound investment. I have friends who have, put a couple $100 in who now have collections worth thousands.
Okay, but in a collapse, I'm not trading Magic cards for toilet paper. He's gonna say, go find another trade. I think toilet paper would be a good one to trade. I call it the currency of the future. And cigarettes. Cigarettes and alcohol. Alcohol, especially.
Alcohol, for sure. I was just talking about that with somebody else.
Yeah, me. It was a really good idea.
Yeah. Hard to transport and heavy, but if you can get it in high quantities, I'll bet you could trade for basically anything. I think whiskey actually became a form of currency in the early colonial U.S., and George Washington put a stop to that right away with force. Yay! So okay, those are our suggestions. We got through the Q&A. Man, that took a while, but yeah, you can.
No one ever calls in. Why don't they call in?
They want to be voiceless. They want to be.
Well, they used to call in. Sometimes we need to do the number more often. You can call us at 1-708-23-COINS.
Yes.
Or you can Skype us at BitcoinTalkShow, all one word. It's really true. We're not just faking with the phone number and the Skype thing.
No, that's for real. Except we had that one caller who didn't speak. That was a little weird. I know my sound was working because we could hear the call ring in, but then once I clicked, like accept call, they just didn't speak. So unclear why that's happening. But
another comment. Jamie says everyone will want toilet paper. Maybe the World Crypto Network should do its own brand of toilet paper. Better for survival, longer lasting, comes in tighter rolls, waterproof containers, World Crypto Network toilet paper.
We could be like InfoWars and we could sell it. It's like really, really clean toilet paper. Like you wouldn't believe it's got no like chemicals in it. It's like not like any of those governments putting fluoride in it. Like no, this is proper toilet paper.
You need this. You need to order it now. You're in danger. If you don't have this toilet paper by tomorrow, your family, they could be dead by some kind of government conspiracy of space aliens.
If I could do that voice, I'd rip him a new one right now. I'd just be like, yeah, your government is stockpiling this stuff. You need to buy it urgently.
It's mainly about being loud. I remember like the Ernie guy about being loud.
Have you covered your ass? Cover her ass with World Crypto toilet paper. And he also suggests soap and other toiletries. Good idea. These are
actually that's very good because soap is one of the first things people buy when they get out of the poverty trap. Even it's one of the first things people do is they clean themselves when they can afford it.
Go figure. People like to be clean.
I like this Jamie guy. Jamie guy's switched on. He knows what he's doing.
He must be. He must have been clued into the info war for a while. What else we got? I'm seeing a lot of stuff in the chat. Some links. Someone else bring up something. I'm seeing a bunch of them.
Mark Carpellis is still trolling us. I don't know if you saw this. He's Mark Carpellis of MT Gox fame, Magic the Gathering online exchange fame.
Yeah.
He stole like $500 million. Sorry, alleged, but he did, in my opinion. steal $500 million, the biggest bank heist after Bernie Madoff. And he's saying, look, you know, what with all this iCloud theft of images, recent events show that with appropriate motivation, anything can be hacked. Maybe everyone should stop and think about what that means for them. What a prick. I love this, like, our Bitcoin comment where it's like, why didn't you just shut the fuck up, you fat fucker? Like, you just stole people's money, and then I don't mean with the ad hominem, you know, anyone out there who kind of
it's so demeaning to be like, hey everyone, like especially for a known criminal, someone who a lot of people perceive as a criminal, to be like, hey, stop and check yourself. It's like, how dare you? Screw up.
He wasn't hacked. He hacked himself, man, in my opinion. And I don't represent the views of World Crypto Network or anyone. It's just my own private view.
Yeah.
We also had a great tweet that Chris found from this great new account called InfoSec Taylor Swift at Swift on Security, and this is a little Notting Hill. She says, "I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy, debating if his information security practices are sufficient to trust him with naked photos." Really killer, great quote.
That account is just killing it. That account is brilliant. And it must be real, Tom, because Taylor Swift would have taken that offline. Surely her lawyers would have. So we can only assume that it really is Taylor Swift, can't we?
It's so sad. The only thing I know about Taylor Swift is that she made a really good video, but Beyonce made a better one. So that's some end of my Taylor Swift knowledge.
Hey, since we're talking about... uh-oh, we got a call.
Hey, we got a caller. That'll be someone we know.
Hey, caller. You are on World Crypto Network Bitcoin Talk Show. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Awesome. I was just thinking about the things to kind of collect for whatever may happen, all that stuff still.
Is this something you've thought about before?
Oh yeah, definitely. I kind of live off the grid, mostly anyway.
Where are you right now, in an underground bunker?
No, we live in the woods, basically on a deck. But out in NorCal, Kernville.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what's your magic stock? What are you keeping? Toilet paper? Alcohol? Cigarettes?
All of those things would probably be good to stock up on. I don't know, some of the things you guys already mentioned would, are key, like seeds and water and all that stuff. But
I don't think we brought up seeds. That's a good one.
Yeah, seeds are good for sure. I was also thinking solar power, or like some sort of small solar equipment to power your devices could be really key.
Okay. Is that what you have? What do you have? What do you recommend?
I have a Goal Zero. It's like this little kind of ruggedized portable solar panel with a little battery and inverter. It charges my phone and my laptop all day. And maybe even some, I don't know, communications in that sort of situation comes, to mind a lot. Like, I don't know how well cell
two-way
phones
radio.
Radio could be good. Maybe even like a CD or like a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, exactly. If you have a two-way radio, you can communicate with anyone for a few miles sometimes. If they're really
One
good.
thing I would really like to see gain some more traction and get a little bit more advanced is mesh networking technology. I know it's not quite there yet. I know people are working on it, but
would that be like Open Garden, an app for your phone that can create an open network?
That could be cool. I think that mostly works on Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, which is not very high range. I would think maybe some directional RF, like point-to-point radio frequency type stuff.
There's a lot of antennas now that are rather cheap in the consumer price line that can go up to a couple miles. So building directional mesh nets is getting much cheaper.
Yeah, I know the hardware's coming along. Ubiquiti has some cool stuff. But in terms of software, I think the most promising thing that I've seen so far in terms of mesh networking is CJDNS. You guys ever heard of that?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a little familiar with that.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite like user-friendly at this point, but I do believe that it has some potential in the future.
Explain to me what it is.
It's like like an IP routing protocol. It uses IPv6 and it basically it's encrypted through and through. Like I wish I could describe it better.
Well, Thomas has the Wikipedia page up. He says CJDNS is a networking protocol, a system of digital rules for message exchange between computers. Philosophy behind CJDNS is that networks should be easy to set up, protocols should scale up smoothly, and security should be ubiquitous. Seems pretty simple, but I imagine it's pretty complicated under the hood.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've also got a link in the chat saying that nycmesh.net, that's nycmesh.net, has a really good, easy-to-follow guide to get started with CJDNS.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, I know that they have a couple of sort of localized mesh networking groups. There's one, I believe, in a couple of in San Francisco and New York and a couple other big cities, with an active community.
So is this the kind of project that I could see, like people putting Wi-Fi networks up in drones and then just having a drone give Wi-Fi to the entire street, so if the government or Apple or whoever tries to cut off communication, people can keep that powered up?
That's exactly what it could do. And also I think a interesting prospect is, have you ever heard of the Google Balloons project?
No. Oh, wait, tell us about it.
Yeah, they're experimenting with, I think they're helium balloons that have, Wi-Fi or similar technology tethered onto them, and you could essentially maybe even just drop these things out of planes and have little nodes popping up and floating above the mountains and whatnot.
Now, just to play devil's advocate, because I'm a big fan of these things, by the way, but if I were maybe just a regular Joe, I would say I'm concerned about Big Brother, and I'm like you. I want to live off the grid. I don't want these balloons things everywhere watching my every move. Shouldn't I be concerned about this?
I would assume that in this sort of situation that they wouldn't be put up by governments. I mean, I might even put up one of these things on my own if I had a network of people to mesh up with. I would see it coming more from a grassroots sort of thing.
So it's not something to be afraid of? I don't have to worry about you hackers out there?
It just depends on who's putting them up.
Yeah, and do you trust them? How do you know if you trust a network?
I think the main goal with these types of things is
CJDNS. CJDNS is designed to be encrypted in a way where I would say it's even similar to Bitcoin in that it's designed to be able to connect to a network without trusting the nodes in the network because it's encrypted through and through.
All right, very good. Hey, any other thoughts that you want to share with us today? Any other questions for our caller panelists?
Nothing really comes to mind specifically. I've been meaning to call in for a couple of weeks now and just get into the conversation.
Cool.
Actually, probably a couple months now that I think about it. But I'd love to talk with you guys again at another point.
What do you do?
What do I do? For work?
Yeah, like what do you do in the Bitcoin space? Why do you watch this show? You must be a Bitcoiner of some kind.
Yeah, definitely. What do I do in the Bitcoin space? Right now I'm actually setting up a, it would be 10 terahash mining rig with a couple of friends.
Wow, that sounds serious.
Yeah, pretty nice investment. I've been mining for a while. I do some agorism in Bitcoin.
All right, good to hear that word. Agorism, of course, referring to a counter-economic philosophy of providing services that governments typically provide, but doing it without government permission.
Yeah, and just general moral market activity.
I like the cards you're putting down. I hope that you call in again. If you connect with us on Skype, we might even be able to, put you on the air with the higher sound quality, or get you on video on Bitcoin Talk Show one of these days. Appreciate hearing from you. Do you want to give a name or a Twitter handle so that we know we can follow you, give reference to you in the future?
Yeah, my name is Adam.
Hi, Adam.
Let me see if I can. I've changed my Twitter handle recently. I actually forget what it is.
What?
I know. I'm actually good friends with SS3 Caton. You might be familiar with that handle.
If you don't have a handle, you don't have an identity, man.
Yeah.
Ah! Okay, yeah, it's Anarcho Alexand.
Anarcho Alexand, as in like Alligator without the ER?
Yeah, without the R. I couldn't fit the R. The E is still there, though.
That's pretty funny. Why does Twitter have... I guess they have to have a limit somehow. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Anarcho Alexand, thanks so much. We've got your account right up here. Very nice.
Yeah, I brought it up.
Thank you, Christopher.
Awesome.
All right, I appreciate your call.
Thank you very much. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, chat with you later. Peace.
I was thinking when he was talking about and Tom was showing his little solar panel thing, there's also those little wind-up chargers. Have you seen those? Like the little weather radios that have like a USB plug and wind them up so you can charge the battery. They make those to charge phones and devices as well.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. So you like crank it up, right? It's sort of like one of those wind-up toys, but it's much bigger, and so you can crank up some energy and then...
There you go. Tom's got one.
Whoa!
It's not that big. I mean, I go out to the desert, so all my stuff is still out. This is a radio. It's got a pump on it. It has a little flashlight there. Not very good. And it does like FM, shortwave, AM, all the different types of radio. It's a really good little compact unit. It's like $25. But yeah, it'll pump, and you pump for maybe like 2 minutes. It'll run for 10. It's not that bad, and it takes batteries too, so you can just put batteries in. But,
wow. That is really cool. And we went a little long with our caller here, but I'm realizing the time here is 5 p.m. on the East Coast, and I've got to start getting ready for not Bitcoin Talk Show. We're doing that now. For Cop Lock Radio, which is coming up shortly, and so I'm gonna have to say goodbye. I just want to say my biggest, coolest thing this week is Anx BTC. I saw a tweet by Roger Ver where he's bragging about how cool his new credit card looks under a blacklight. I don't know, why it's special under a blacklight, but apparently, reading from anxbtc.com, you just register, you verify your account, which I guess we heard about New York. People can't do it. Sorry. Deposit some money, and then you can buy anything with this credit card. It's sort of like a Bitcoin debit card and works internationally. Very cool. I would hope to use one. I'm in the system, so why not? I'll try it out. And like Christopher pointed out earlier, they have all of these ringing endorsements from Bloomberg, CNBC, CNN, so you can trust them. It's real. All right, that's what I got. You guys got anything really cool this week? Other things you want to touch on? You can just keep the show going if you want to, but I'm going to sign out.
Sorry, I'm about to show something that's a bit disturbing, so bear that in mind. But there's a good cause for it, because I'm starting to look up journalists that are independent journalists who are just people like us with blogs. Now, this is a picture that was put up by some propagandists that were trying to be like anti-Palestinian. I want to get rid of that picture, sorry. But this guy is running a website called wildflowersnews.wordpress.com, and I used another guy who just had a WordPress earlier when I was talking about the Amanda Todd story. And what he does is he goes around debunking propaganda. So when everyone started posting that thing up, like saying, look, they're using these kids as human shields on buildings in Gaza, that was actually a picture that he found using Google image search from 2012. It was a 2-year-old picture, and of course it's not a very nice picture. But the point is that there are some good people out there that are doing sort of independent journalism that just believe in truth, okay? And they've just got these low-cost blogs, and they're just fed up with being fed just lies by the mainstream, and they're going out and doing their own research. And usually, I mean, it's a bit like, let's coin a term, let's call it wiki journalism, or sometimes known as distance journalism. So that's what that's what I think we should be focusing on right now, is that if you've had enough of this sort of propaganda PR war that we get on the mainstream, you should definitely go out and take some responsibility and do some research for yourself and flag it up when you see something being touted that isn't true.
And carry a camera. You'll feel a lot safer no matter what activity you're on. If you're talking to somebody, just put the camera up, put your camera out. It's a way of saying, like, I'm recording this to keep me safe and to keep you safe.
Although there is an interesting news report just 2 days ago where a court has decided that police officers' hearsay or say-so is it trumps video evidence. So the testimony of a police officer in the U.S. trumps video evidence. So you can carry a camera, but that's only going to keep you safe in the court of public opinion.
Oh, I can assume that'll be overturned because that's ridiculous. So I don't know who they're fooling.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, I appreciate all of you guys for being awesome each week. Let's do this again next Wednesday, where we will pretend to be reading books, but then actually do a show. In the meantime, BitcoinTalkShow.com, WorldCryptoNetwork.com. Is there going to be another town hall tomorrow, Chris?
Yeah, I was going to ask on Podio if people wanted to do it, or we could do it again at the weekend, whatever people like. But yes, we can if you want to. And anyone can.
Thursday feels perfectly bureaucratic to me. I don't know why, but Thursday just seems like one of those perfect days for having a town hall meeting.
There you go.
We've also got Bitcoin World Crypto Book Club coming up tonight. Nick and I are going to do part 3 out of 4 of Snow Crash. And just really quickly, I had some breaking news on Twitter from Michigan Bitcoiners. Big news for Bitcoin mining in Detroit. Check it out. They're having a 60,000 square foot fully air-conditioned warehouse with 2.7 megawatts and power prices at $60 per kilowatt hour is opening soon to members in Detroit. Wow. So not sure how that's going to turn out with the cost of mining equipment and the cost of shipping mining equipment and all of those things, but good for Detroit, good for Michigan Bitcoiners. Glad to hear some good news coming out of there.
Will you be jumping into the fray?
I don't think I'm going to be hosting anything in there. It's already difficult enough to buy an ASIC. Like the classic thing for me is Vitalik's speech in DC, where he's like, if you have an ASIC shipped to you and it takes a week, you're going to lose 10% of your value. That's an incredibly good reason not to ship an ASIC. We also had a suggestion from Nick of another cool Twitter account called The Limerick King, @The Limerick King, and I'm just going to read this one. He says, Keynes made indebtedness cool. It helped oligarchy to rule. They funded his con and rewarded his spawn, and played the whole world like a fool.
Oh, what a great limerick. So I assume they're all limericks. But that was rhyming con with spawn. Very interesting. Good rhyme.
Good stuff.
All right.
That's all I have. Anyone else?
Well, follow me at DerekJMe on Twitter or at my website, derekj.me, where you can see lots of media. It's not all Bitcoin related. Sometimes I follow the police. Today I did an ambush interview of the governor of New Hampshire. Asked her what she thinks about arresting peaceful people for pot possession and whether or not she wants the feds' involvement in New Hampshire. Maybe we could get them out. Anyway, there's lots of stuff going on in the world, and I love these guys who host a show with me every week. Let's do it again next week. Until next time, it's Bitcoin Talk Show. Oh, use Bitcoin and prosper.